So the Mitsubishi F2 is probably coming, right? It got leaked, it got even the models leaked from the CDK, right? So we can kind of know that it is probably coming. And the Mitsubishi F2 is a long awaited aircraft for the Japanese main, since it will be probably the first 14.0 that they will have, and of course the first technically proper 4.5 generation jet, right? But people are either underestimating it or overestimating it. And here I wanted to actually tell you guys that it's not going to be as good or as bad as you might think, because people are looking at this thing as a savior for the Japanese tech tree or as dead on arrival, and it's not gonna be either or, okay? This aircraft will be one of the best aircraft in the game, in my opinion, but there is a long list of very good aircraft in the game. I mean, we have Eurofighters, we have F-15Es, we have Rafales, Su-30 SMs, and the F2 wasn't what it was in real life when actually gets added, right? Because in real life, guys, this thing actually had a incredibly powerful radar for the time, meaning that he had an actual really big advantage when it was introduced, since it was the first operational aircraft to have a IASA radar. But the thing is, we already have PESAs, we already have IASAs, we have aircraft that basically will have a lot more performance than the F2, meaning that it will not be as good as you think. But again, it is one of those aircraft from that time that it will be amazing still. So how can we measure this? So remember, guys, apart from some minor things, the Mitsubishi F2 can be considered kind of upgrade to an F-16. It's not really an upgrade, it's its own aircraft, but if you get an aircraft such as the F-16 and you put to the side of the F2, you will notice how they are very similar. Why is that? Because they are technically the same aircraft, right? The F2 comes from the design of the F-16, especially with the Agile Falcon package, prototype package, right? So there is basically here I can see three differences that you might feel like when you actually compare the F2 to the F-16C, for example, which is probably the highest BR F-16 that we have in the game. And what are those? So let's list them, and at the end of the video I'm going to mention how these changes will affect the gameplay and why these aircraft won't be as good as you think or as bad as you think. So the first thing is, of course, like I was saying, the radar. Yes, the radar is an IASA radar. Like I said, it is the first technically jet to enter in operation with an IASA radar. So it will have one of the best radars in the game. Will it be as good as the Rafale one? I don't know. Probably not, okay, since it's an older radar, but it's not by much. So at the end of the day, I still believe it will be on par with the best radars in the game, and it will be considered a top 3 radar in the game, you know, for sure. Together with the Rafale, together with the Su-30, other PESAs and IASAs, of course, we can even include here like the Kafir C-10 one and even the Su-34 one. But at the end of the day, there isn't that many PESAs and IASAs, right? So it will be probably a top tier, top, you know, 3 best radar. So yes, you will have one of the best radars in the game. That's the main difference from the F-16C on regards of sensors. On the regards of weapon systems, well, I mean, we can talk about how the missiles are a little bit different, of course, but to be honest, there aren't that much of a difference right now in the game compared to the American one. So of course you will be able to carry the AM-3, which I think it's a better missile than the AIM-9M. And we have the AM-4, right, which is a missile that arguably after the burn it is better, but the burn is so weak compared to the AIM-120 that eventually it's just worse than AIM-120. So it will be around the same, you know, a little bit better of an IR missile compared to the F-16, a little bit worse, you know, in the terms of BVR. But at the end of the day, the main difference here might be, and let's see how they implement the actual pylons of this thing, but with the pylons that we actually took a look on the models of the CDK, apparently it will be able to carry 8 missiles, right? I mean, it has 10 pylons, but 2 of them would be only for fuel tanks, or majority of the things that you can carry there is fuel tanks and bombs, maybe. So 8 missiles on the other pylons. So I would assume that it can take like 8 AM-120s or AM-4s, or, you know, maybe 8 AM-3s or AM-9s, right? So I think it will be a little bit better on the regards of missiles because of that. It will have more missiles. Hopefully, they give the option for the F2 to carry the AM-120, because then the combination of the Accelerator, AM-120, and then the AM-3, it will be probably the best quote-unquote F-16. And although, yes, we do have more minor changes like the canopy and stuff, the major third change would be the enlarged wings. But remember, guys, this thing also uses basically the same engine from the F-16C, which means that it will have a larger wing, which means more turn, or more or less, but also more drag. So it will be an aircraft that probably, with the right circumstances, of course, depending on the on fuel tank like load of how much fuel you put into the aircraft and the payload itself. But it should be an aircraft in equal terms if you compare the aircraft in the same loadouts and fuel capacity and stuff, fuel quantity. It would be turning better than the F-16C. Not by much, but it would. And because of that, it would probably create more drag. And with the same engine, it means lower airspeeds or overall lower capacity of maintaining energy. So these are the 3 things that you should consider. So a better radar, more weapons, and an enlarged wing that creates more lift, so more turn, but also more drag, so less overall maintainability of a speed. So in the end of the day, the verdict, if you look into these 3 things, you can draw one conclusion. Yes, especially if it receives the AM-120s, it will be a better aircraft than the F-16C, in my opinion, than the normal Block 50, right? Why? Because it will have a much better radar, better, like more missiles, and if you know how to use it, a better turning capability, so a better dogfighting capability, even if it loses energy retention. So at the end of the day, guys, it is a better F-16 in my opinion. Is it by much? No, but it is better. So that's why I still believe it will be a 14.0. But at the same time, guys, it still uses the same engine, so it won't be as good in accelerating and climbing as an Eurofighter or Rafale. It won't carry as, you know, as much missiles as an Su-30SM. And at the end of the day, it will because it is based on that F-16. Even if it turns better, it still doesn't have a button to do Cobras and stuff, and it will probably lose in a very short range dogfight, depending on the pilot, to an Su-30SM if used correctly, or Rafale or Eurofighter, something like that, right? So at the end of the day, I think, yes, it will be one of the best aircraft in the game. It will be probably the best, you know, F-16 looking aircraft in the game. But at the end of the day, guys, the time for it to be added that it was going to have an advantage over the other nations already passed. Now, Japan is running behind and it's trying to catch up. So, yeah, it's about time the F2 gets added, because the performance of the aircraft already surpassed it. And it's kind of sad to see that. Japan apparently never will be the best of the best because of that. Even when it feels like they're gonna be, it just takes a little bit more time, and eventually other nations get their stuff first, even if in real life those stuff came afterwards. So don't get sad. I know it's kind of a sad ending to the video. The aircraft is not gonna be bad, okay? But people are overestimating it or underestimating it. It's gonna be something in the middle. It's gonna be a better F-16, the F-16 that you always wanted. So I see you guys on the next one. Make sure to subscribe, leave a like, leave a comment, and let me know in the comments what you think about the mighty Mitsubishi F2. See you guys, bye.